Hey everybody. So this is a update for the approaching new moon in Cancer. Now, you're going to feel like you're in a swimming pool, I dare say. We've got so much happening in water. So we've got the sun and the moon, which always are in the same sign at new moon in Cancer. But of course, we had Jupiter, the biggest planet in our solar system, move into Cancer on June the 9th for a year. So we've also got Mercury in Jupiter and the North Node, which is like where we're headed as a collective in Pisces, the final water sign. So if you feel like treading water, you're not alone. But yeah, water, it asks us to feel things. Okay. You know, we live in a culture that's often normalizing a disassociated state, and this is going to drop us in our feelings. So it's also really magnifying relationships, particularly with family and those that feel like family, our soul kin, our soul tribe. So, I call this a snuggle moon. You're going to want to hang out, spend some quality time with creature comforts in a place you feel safe and secure with those that really get you. Yeah. And if that's no one, then yep, you're probably going to be alone with your cat. This is a time where we really feel like we just want to be, um, yeah, very selective about who we share our time and our space with. Now, what this is really going to highlight is the health, the state of our inner mother. In other words, how well are we taking care of ourselves emotionally? Are we swinging? Are we emotionally dysregulated, which can often be flagged by craving more sugar than a cockroach? Trying to comfort yourself, surrogating with, breast milk in the form of cookies and chocolate. Um, but yeah, this is also a time to go, right, am I sustainable or am I crashing? Am I getting sick because I'm not prioritizing self-care? Those that like to mother everybody else, mother the world, mother the community. This is, you won't be able to sustain it at the moment, because Jupiter is magnifying our relationship with our inner mother, as well as our birth mother and those that have played a mothering role for us. This is a time where you'll probably be like, oh, I need to give my mum a ring. It's been a while. So, yeah, we're also going to be shining a light on community and the need for community support. We're all in this together. We're going through such intense change. Just, the first half of 2025, we've had most of the outer planets, so the generational planets, the ones that usher in big collective change, all changing signs. Okay. The lunar nodes in January, so our compass position moved into Pisces, the 12th of January. Then in Neptune in March changed signs, Saturn in May, Jupiter in June, and then next month on the 7th of the 7th, we've got Uranus ending a 7-year cycle. So that's big. Yeah. All this solar weather that we're having at the moment. I don't know if you caught it. I put it on my timeline that there was a blackout last night recorded in Russia with the Schumann's resonance, so which is the heartbeat of the Earth, the electromagnetic current of the Earth, and it's completely blacked out. So I don't know what the powers that be are trying to keep from us, but let's just say we might be about to receive the biggest zap ever. Um, so yeah, whether or not that's the solar event, who knows? Flash, savior of the universe. Yeah, he's coming. Um, and by that I'm talking about the big solar event, the solar flare, which I've spoken about in my Ascension videos. You can check them out on my YouTube channel. So we've got Saturn, the planet of structure, discipline, rules and responsibility, authority in Aries, the child, the warrior, the part that, wants to get things started, make stuff happen, ruled by Mars. Okay, so that energy is squaring this moon in squidgy, feely, mama Cancer. So we might have a squaring off of masculine, your outer expectations of yourself, who you think you need to be out in the world, you know, compared to your home life. Yeah, and how that impacts your family and a need to, restructure so that you can have a new beginning that's not at the cost of your home life. This is also really going to challenge us to take better care of ourselves and not implode. So, Cancer, out of all the signs, is the one that's most prone to, let's face it, getting moody, sulky, um, and having Saturn and Aries squaring the moon in Cancer means there's a big chance of people imploding into a massive passive aggressive tantrum if you don't behave the way that they want you to. Because Saturn is also squaring Jupiter. So, Jupiter being so huge, there's a chance we might make mountains out of molehills emotionally, particularly again if that inner mother isn't showing up with positive self talk and, able to de-escalate us, able to help us to see reason and not drown in our emotions. So, Mercury, the planet of communication, is forming a trine, a helpful 60-degree angle to Saturn. So it's asking us to take responsibility for how we communicate. Okay. Um, so, you know, if you're feeling like you're going to start projecting your neediness, just take stock and, yeah, do a bit of journal writing because Mercury, the planet of communication, forming a trine also to Neptune, helps us to get a higher perspective, to see things with spiritual insight. So give yourself a time out if you're feeling triggered and go and journal. It's also a very creative time, great for writing poetry, for automated writing, channeled writing, creative writing. So, harness that energy positively. We have two of the big guns, Neptune, so that's the planet of spiritual epiphanies and, um, just feeling at one with the universe, and Saturn, the father, responsibility in an exact 0-degree conjunction, so appearing as if they're on top of each other. Now, Neptune, it's very nebulous, very sort of otherworldly. And Neptune, it can dissolve structures. So we could see the collapse of the system, whether that's, a blackout or a dissolution of structures that we've come to depend on or have given our authority over to. That could all just come crashing down. Neptune and Saturn in this exact conjunction is also likely to have interventions with those that are giving their power to addiction. Um, Also, those that do avoidant escapism, whether that's with substances or just not dealing with things, going into la la land, it's all love and light and meditating and not actually dealing with the transpersonal, with the impact of your thoughts, words, and deeds on those around you, particularly your unconscious thoughts, words, and deeds. So, those that don't deal with challenges, Saturn is going to bring them front and center to have a look at themselves. Pluto, the planet of transformation and showing us our own shadow, is forming a trine to the asteroid Sedna. Now, Sedna is the one in the Inuit mythos who, she's betrayed by her husband and her father, and, to save himself, her father cuts her fingers off and they go into the ocean. And, she's trying to get back into the boat because, he's thrown her overboard. So, this Pluto trine is saying you can transform your sense of helplessness, your powerlessness. It's a perception. It's not the truth. You've got to go down into the underworld and root out those subconscious beliefs around feeling victimized by life or by others and find your inner resources and strength. So that's how you can really harness this new moon. If you're in the bunker, don't just be licking your wounds and self-soothing, but as I said, do the journal writing and look at your story as a mythic archetypal quest and identify what your lesson is, why you chose it as a soul, because this is the time to master our karma. With Jupiter squaring, so forming a 90-degree challenging angle to both Saturn and Neptune, this is challenging us to deal with our feelings. First of all, by feeling them, by acknowledging that we are not just machines, we are not just rational, but we have feelings. So we're likely to have catalysts that bring those feelings up, particularly if we've been rationalizing them away or burying ourselves in distractions or such as work. This is also a time to take responsibility for your own spiritual awakening. If you're someone that's been blindly following a guru, rather than seeing the God within, the guru within, you might, have that challenged in some way. So, this is also a time when we're likely to seek out our soul kin, those that feel like home, okay, and leave structures, whether that's marriages or schools, schools of thought, um, spiritual schools, if we don't feel accepted for who we truly are. So a time of, individuation. Mars is retrograde in Virgo, the sign of attending to the details. So, you know, this is a time for us to review everything, particularly in our working life, what's working, what isn't, and reflect on how our work habits are impacting our health and well-being. This is not an outward time, okay? As I said earlier, you're probably going to feel, quite reclusive and want to retreat to where you feel safe and held. Uranus in the final degree of Taurus, 29-degree Taurus. This is coming to an end, a 7-year cycle. As I said, on the 7th of the 7th, it moves into Gemini. So this is, in the final degree of a sign, it's like finals exam. What have you learnt in the last 7 years of this great awakener, Uranus, the planet of Kundalini, of aha moments, moving through the earth sign of Taurus, which governs finance, self-worth, our values, whether or not we love ourselves and appreciate our own beauty, as well as property and our physical possessions. So I'm predicting a sudden shift into love because Taurus is ruled by Venus. This is her home sign, and yes, she is currently in Taurus. So this is a time to really embody the feminine, okay? Not just, placate or pretty words about honoring the feminine, but what does that actually look like? Well, it's about listening to the body. Yeah, letting that hang. Really listen and bow to the wisdom and the consciousness of every cell in your body. Yeah, this is a time to befriend your body. Otherwise, Shazam. Yeah, you're likely to be knocked down. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope that's helpful as we come down to this new moon, which will be exact on June 25 at 11:31 London time. I'll put the link in the description so you can see it in your neck of the woods. This is a time to nurture yourself, to really be honest with yourself about your needs. And if you're doing things, habits that don't feel particularly good, then look at what the payoffs are. What do you get from that? Because we don't ever do something unless we're getting something out of it. So make a list of what you get. For instance, if you smoke, I used to smoke, I smoked for 17 years, and it gave me time out. It gave me repression of anger. It gave me a breathing technique, yeah, in order to calm my feelings. It gave me time with myself, time with nature, because I'd go outside to do it. So write down all the benefits, all the payoffs that you get from a bad habit, and then consider, well, how can I meet those needs in a more healthy way? So, yeah, this is about us being accountable to how we're feeling and understanding that our feelings are the barometer of our body. If we're overriding our feelings, our body is going to have wear and tear. Okay, so we've got to start really attuning to the heart, knowing that our feelings are what show us what we need so that we can be more responsive to ourselves emotionally and physically. So that's the feminine. Water and earth, they're the feminine elements. So we're needing to honor our feelings and our physical needs. So I hope that's helpful. And yeah, blessings. Ciao for now.